Hello YouTube, it's Lion here with Hobbies of Mad once again, and today we are doing another book review. Now today we are going to be reviewing Creation Mage 3. This is the latest Creation Mage that Dante King has written. Actually, I think Creation Mage 4 is on its way. I can't remember if it's already been published, and I can't check right now, but Creation Mage 4 is coming, and I'm trying to review Creation Mage 3 before it releases. Although it might have already released. I can't remember. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, the author is Dante King. Probably one of my favorite Harem authors that I've read so far. Really enjoy his work. He's a cool person as well, so props for that. Publisher-wise, it's self-published on Amazon. And the genres here are Haremlet and fantasy. I don't know if I should... I'm never sure if I should call this an epic fantasy. Because I guess it is an epic fantasy, but the focus of the story is always so small. Like, it deals with characters instead of with the effect that the characters have on the world. That calling it epic fantasy doesn't really, like, feel right. But it's definitely a high fantasy. It's in a different setting. It's not on Earth, although the character is from Earth. And there's a lot of different stuff here that is going on. And yeah, so the premise here is that the adventure continues from the first two volumes, which, by the way, if you want reviews for those, they're up there in the card. Please do check them out. And Justin, his frat bros, and all the girls are going through school, but kind of need to set up and go... set up some sponsorships for the War Mage games and go on a mission to save someone important that kind of develops throughout the story. And yeah, the book was great. I really enjoyed it. It's really funny. It has very great comedic elements. It balances out very nicely between the action, comedy, and kind of like interpersonal tension that you need if you're gonna have romance happening. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. So let's actually jump into the proper evaluation of the book. And the plotline here is really good. It's very action-packed. If I was to tell you the general premise or like the general plot points, the first big plot point is that Igor sets the runes, which isn't really a spoiler because that was the whole point of book 2. And then there's a date with Cecilia, which is also not a spoiler because that's what they said at the end of book 2. And after that, we get a new teacher. We got a lot of school stuff. Then there's a sponsorship situation that has to occur. And then lots of battle from there. I mean, yeah, the main point of this book is really this, like, what's it called? Rescue mission, I guess. But in order to get to the rescue mission, you have to go through all of these other things to set up the quest, essentially. And it's very cool. We're really in a lot of a very full swing when it comes to the school aspect, right? There's a lot of going to class and dealing with other students and stuff that's happening here. And so the first half of the book feels a little bit slower than the first two, but it's very good, and I really enjoyed it. And I think that change of pace was really good because there was kind of a transition here that's kind of occurring between it being focused on introducing our character and getting him leveled up enough to like compete with other people into a more action-based, story where it has to do with him competing in this Tri-Wizard Olympic game style kind of thing. And so this slower buildup in the first half of the third book was kind of necessary in order to get to that point. So that book 4, book 5, and the rest, however long it goes on for, can, move on from that general, like, introductory phase. So really good stuff there. And yeah, I mean, the first half of the book is basically Justin needs sponsorships, and then the world starts to end, and the plot thickens from there. And we get some fun little tidbits of like, okay, there's no action right now. We're just going to focus on building the relationship between Justin and his frat bros, introducing some new characters, developing some relationship between Justin and some of the female characters, and, you know, just kind of slight meandering that's really, you know, useful and kind of even slice of lifey. But the point is, you know, not to overload you with action, right? So I really enjoyed it. It was really well done. I think this is the, you know, logical progression of the first two. I can't say that it's my favorite. If I had to sit down and think about it, I think the second one is probably my favorite. I don't know why. It's just like off of the top of my head, I think the second one is my favorite. But all three of them are really good. They're all on par. There's really no loss or kind of downgrade from the second one. It's just I like what the second one focused on a little bit more. Now, let's talk about the characters here. There's 3 new characters. We have the nun, whose name I think is Mole. I can't remember her name exactly. I'll put it on the screen if it's not Mole, but she's not really that special of a character, but she seems to be a character that's going to come into play later. And it's just kind of funny that she's a nun, and like the whole time that they're talking with her, it's like, yeah, she's not really a nun in the sense that like earthling people would think of her. She's just kind of like religious, I guess, or not religious, like spiritual. And with magic, spirituality is a bit different than in a very mundane world like you would have on Earth. And it's very fun. She's really enjoyable. But it might not be fun if you're kind of religious and find, you know, fantasy depictions of nuns kind of disrespectful. Maybe that might not be for you. So, you know, just a warning. And we have Solaria Solarfine, who is a harpy, right? And that's like the half chicken, half female monsters from Greece. She's a broom maker, which is awesome. That's really cool. I mean, that's very classic wizardy type of stuff, very Harry Potter-esque, but it's different, and I like that. And it's something that we haven't seen in other magic school settings, so I think that's really cool. She ends up being a potential sponsor, and there's a whole plot point that develops with her, and I really like her. I think she's really interesting. I very much thought that she'll show up that much later on, but she's a cool character. And then my favorite new character is Odette Scaleblade, who is this like sultry Frenchy, or French-ish, I guess, dragonkin woman. She's a new teacher. She's a death mage, which is really awesome. It's very interesting. Because I would assume that death mages would have a very bad rep. And I guess we do see that in a different part of the book. But she seems to be like the good kind of death mage. Someone that's like very respectful of the dead within the context of them being able to control them, as opposed to someone that's just kind of like a shitty, creepy necromancer. So it's really cool. And I really like her as a character. And the sketch that Dante King put on his Facebook group for book 4 is high quality stuff. I really like her pose. She's like, I don't know, it's like the Titan from Game of Thrones, but it's like a woman and she's holding a spear, and it's so cool looking. I really like it. But yeah, Odette Scaleblade is a very interesting character. I'm really excited to see how her and Justin interact in the future, and like what kind of goes on with them, especially since Madame Zell was like talking about her, and I thought it's very funny. But yeah, I'm really excited about this. Relationship wise, both with Justin's frat brothers and with the girls that he's already with, I think there was a really good development there. The frat bros and Justin always have that really cool like bro connection, but like it always felt like Justin was way better than them. And in this book, it's not so much that he's better than them, it's just that like he functions differently, but now they're kind of getting on equal footing, if that makes sense. And I really like that. It's very cool, and I really like that Dante King always includes male characters that male characters that the main character can interact with, because there's kind of a distinct lack of that in harem, as far as I can tell. It's usually like weird to have a secondary male character, because then it like has the issue of like, why would all the women pick the main character if they also have the option of the other guy? Some of them would be like, no, we don't want the main character, right? So it's a very interesting way that he balances that without it being, you know, difficult to do. So I like that a lot. With the girls, it's very nice. Cecilia and Justin's relationship is very interesting because it's a lot more sweet and gentle than like the relationship he has with the other women. And I like it. It's very nice that he has different relationships with everyone, and it doesn't feel like overused or boring, because at some point it's kind of weird that he would have a different relationship type with every woman he's with, and if he's gonna have like more than 10 or whatever, it's gonna be like awkward. It's like, okay, you don't have that many facets to you. Why would you act that differently between each person? But it's not really all that different. It's just kind of like he focuses on something slightly different with Cecilia than he does with all the other female characters. And so I really like that. I thought it was really well done. World building wise, good. There was an interesting new development in the whole world ending situation with Justin's parents. And there's a lot of new creatures. There was these like golem / rock troll people that were kind of dumb, but they were interesting, and I like them. And now I have to say that there's an inconsistency with the world building here that I don't really know why it happened, I guess. It's not really a big inconsistency. It's really small, but that's why it bothered me, because it's the way to fix it is as simple as just acknowledging a different name for the same creature. Now, let me actually explain what I'm talking about here. So, early on in the book, when Cecilia and Justin go to this winter wonderland place situation, it's like a different world that's like iced over, and it's kind of like from Frozen, I guess. They go there, and Justin sees yetis, right? Like abominable snowmen, or, you know, just Bigfoots that are white, right? He sees them, and then later on in the book, there's an introduction of these other creatures called Jotuns, or frost giants, from Norse mythology. And they're both described the same way. And so it's a little weird that they have to be described again if we already know that they are. And they acted the same way. And I found it odd that they had to be reintroduced. And I guess this can be easily explained if Dante King is a discovery writer, but I'm not really sure. I haven't asked him. I should probably ask him about it. But the problem is that they were introduced twice, and they're the same creature. Now, it's not really a problem, but I would have liked it if it was clarified that Jotuns, frost giants, and yetis are all the same thing. And it's really easy to do. Just the first time that they're introduced, Cecilia can say, yeah, those are yetis, and they're also called Jotuns. And then if they ever get called frost giants without being explained that Jotuns are frost giants, it doesn't matter, because if you look up Jotun, you'll find that it's called the frost giant. And most people know what Jotuns are, because, you know, in like Marvel movies, they go to Jotunheim, and that's where the frost giants live. So you can kind of guesstimate, right, that they're the same thing. Now, it's not really a big problem. And in fact, it probably wouldn't really matter to most people. But it bothered me because it was such a small detail that got overlooked. But that's basically it. Other than that, it's really interesting. I really like the world building. There seems to be this like secret society, you know, kind of like the Freemasons or like the Illuminati or something. But they're the good guys, more or less. Or at least they're like portrayed as people looking for freedom and to save the world, instead of the way that the magic council people that rule over all of the magical stuff in War Mage Academy, who are kind of just like, not necessarily bad, but they just don't want to let people know that magic is, you know, dwindling and stuff. So it's kind of interesting. I really enjoyed that aspect, and I'm looking forward to it being more relevant and a lot more explored in the next couple books. But yeah, art-wise, the cover is really great. I really wish Dante King would put the sketches for the covers at the back of the book near the end. I think that there's a problem with that, and it's that if the Kindle algorithm decides that they're too provocative, it might take the book down. So I guess I understand why that isn't the case, but it would have been really nice if he added some of the cover art that wasn't, the final cover into the back of the book. But it's not really, a positive or a negative. It just kind of is. And then the fan service or the smut scenes were really good. I think I like 2 out of the 3 scenes that we got. The first one and the last one were pretty good. The one in the middle, like the second one, was okay. I didn't really like it. I didn't find it all that compelling, I guess. Although I think it was probably the setting and just how like rushed it felt compared to everything else. So I don't know. I'm kind of out on that. I'm not really sure where I stand with that one. Now, what do I rate this book? I think a 5 out of 5 is a very clear score that I can give this. I mean, I've loved every Creation Mage book, and I really like this one just as much as the other 2, so I can't really give it a score lower than the others. And the comedy in this one felt a lot more enjoyable. I think it was because there was 2 Chaos Banes in this book instead of just the usual one. And it was great. I really enjoyed myself reading this. So yeah, 5 out of 5 rating for this book. Do I recommend it? Yes, of course. I think it's a very good book. I think this whole series is great, and Dante King is a great writer. If you enjoy this book, I think similar titles that you might enjoy is maybe Jamie Hawk's X Heroes. It's not really the same. Like, it's not magic based. It's sci-fi. It's like a superhero book. But the kind of comedy element is not necessarily on par, but it's there. And the way in which the mechanic for acquiring new powers works is pretty similar as well. So I think if you like those aspects of this book, you'll probably like Jamie Hawk's other book, or Jamie Hawk's book, X Heroes. And yeah, that's basically it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please let me know in the comments down below. Like, subscribe, and follow Dante King's newsletter so you guys can get Dragon Atlas, Immortal Swordslinger audiobook, and the newest thing that he is offering is Rune Mage, which I'll be reviewing rather soon. And yeah, read his books, leave him reviews, help him out, join his Facebook group if you want as well. I'll leave it all down in the description if you guys want to do any of that stuff. So yeah, thank you guys very much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. See you guys later.